When you talk about Jedrick Wills, tell me about this guy and some of the things that you have seen as he has developed as a player.
Well, he started off as a road grader. He was a guy who was a really good run blocker, and he's obviously kept that over the course of his career. But as a starting tackle at Alabama, you're going to be charged with some of the best pass rushers, not only in the SEC but in the nation, because the SEC tends to be pretty good at collecting those guys on a pretty consistent basis. And Jedrick Wills was able to handle those guys pretty consistently. I think I saw something from Pro Football Focus earlier this week, earlier this month. Time is just totally gone with this whole pandemic thing. No one has any recollection of time anymore. I think I saw he only allowed one sack or one quarterback pressure, something to that effect. So he's clearly a very good pass blocker too. And you obviously got to have excellence in both disciplines, run blocking and pass blocking, to be projected to be a first round pick as an offensive tackle. And Jedrick definitely carries those skill sets, but that wasn't a surprise for him. Jedrick was a guy who was very highly rated, highly recruited out of Kentucky. And when he picked Alabama, there was a chance that someone as talented as him would earn a starting spot at Alabama to start, and he more or less did that. So he got 3 solid years of playing time at Alabama, and that's all he needed to be considered one of, if not the best offensive lineman in this draft.
When you look at guys that play for Nick Saban at Alabama, they're usually pretty ready to move on to the next level. Is that kind of the sense that you get and what the coaching staff believed with Jedrick as well, that this was a guy that had pretty much everything you'd look for in an offensive lineman at the next level, at the NFL level?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only in the physical skills that I just mentioned, but also he's handled a lot of scheme in his time at Alabama. I mean, naturally, Alabama changes coordinators every 45 seconds, so he's getting a new scheme pretty regularly. He's learning a bunch of things, but his most recent offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian, very obviously has some professional experience in his background, coming to Alabama from the Atlanta Falcons. And they were very diverse in their running scheme because they had such a good offensive line across the board. They were allowed to be very multiple and versatile, to use a couple of coaching buzzwords, in how they orchestrated their run game. They also had an awesome running back in Najee Harris that could handle all of those things. So zone blocking, basic gap schemes, power, all of that. Jedrick Wills saw all of that in his college system. So not only does he have the physical tools to be rated this highly in the 2020 draft, but he's also seen enough in the college football ranks that he should transition to the next level pretty well, I think.
What type of kid is he? I know you as a beat reporter, you get to know him a little bit. What type of guy is he, and what have you observed about him as he's gone along and been a 3-year starter for the Crimson Tide?
I think the best compliment I can give Jedrick is that he appears in front of the media a lot at Alabama, which sounds kind of benign, but you got to remember, this is Alabama. This is one of the more notoriously anti-media, or at least not very media-friendly programs that there are in college football. So they keep it kind of close to the vest. So when someone appears in front of the media almost on a weekly basis, like Jedrick did, it tells you one of two things. It either tells you that they're really boring, and Alabama would appreciate that, right? They don't want any bulletin board material, anything like that coming out, or it tells you that they've got a good head on their shoulders, that they know how to conduct themselves in public. And Jedrick Wills is definitely the latter. I don't see him as a boring interview or a boring person. He knows how to conduct himself in front of microphones and in media, and that obviously behooves someone who's trying to be a first round draft pick in the NFL. So I think when you're looking to who Jedrick is as a person, I really think that's the best compliment I can give him, that Alabama of all places was willing to put him in front of the media on an almost weekly basis, because again, he was someone that could handle that responsibility. He's mature and intelligent enough to handle a relatively out of control media session, and do so the way Alabama would prefer that their players do it.
When you think of him, what do you think of? As a guy that has seen him play. If I say Jedrick Wills, what pops to your mind?
A physical run blocker, a very, very mean run blocker. And the development as a pass protector is something that came along over the course of his career. But he was always a road grader. He was that when he got on campus, and he's one of those where if you follow specific offensive line gurus on Twitter like Cole Kubelik and Aaron Taylor and the guys that run the Joe Moore Award, which is the college trophy given to the best offensive line as a group of five in the college game. If you follow the people that do that, you'll see they'll tweet out gifs and clips of offensive linemen doing offensive lineman things. And one, Jedrick Wills is in there pretty often, and two, a lot of the times it's putting a vicious pancake on somebody in the run game. He was very good at that, and I imagine that's something that NFL franchises would like to get their hands on.
He played right tackle a lot, but Tua is a left-handed quarterback, so he's the blindside guy. Tell me a little bit about that, and do you have any doubt at all that if he gets flipped, the left tackle will be pretty seamless for him?
Yeah, I think it would be something that he could handle pretty well, if nothing else, because as you mentioned, he was at right tackle because Tua is left-handed. But I'm assuming in high school he played with a right-handed quarterback, so he was probably at left tackle there. When you have an offensive lineman of that quality at the high school level, you're almost always going to have them on the left side of the offensive line to protect a right-handed quarterback. So I'm assuming he has been on the left side of the offensive line in the past in games, and especially with all the time in between the end of a college season and the beginning of an NFL season, assuming those seasons start on time, thanks to everything we're dealing with right now. That's plenty of time to kind of take in the footwork and understand what he has to do on the left side of the line if the Browns or someone else chooses to do that with him.